Today I fucked up by not telling my superiors I was leaving work for 3 hours to get speakers installed in my car. I told my supervisor to tell the managers that I was stepping out. I had to get speakers installed in my car. I didn't just want to call off, since I never do. Last time I did was almost 2 years ago. So I showed up to set everything up and get the first lunch rush out. I left at 12 o'clock, it's never busy after that time, and we close at 1:30 and reopen for dinner at 4 o'clock. That's essentially 3 hours of not doing anything. I made it back at 3:30 for dinner service but was told to go home. They were all mad. It's the first time I made management mad in my 3 years of working there. I'm hoping this doesn't get me fired, at most just a write-up. We will see tomorrow. I just find it sad that I've given them 3 years and they can't give me 3 hours. It's not the end of the world for me, obviously life goes on, but I like working there. TL, doctor, I left my job for 3 hours and came back told to go home. Might get fired. Oof. Coming from management, I would definitely recommend telling them you have to leave ahead of time and make sure they acknowledge it. Emergencies are one thing, but to have a worker disappear to get speakers installed sounds very frustrating. It partially falls on the supervisor for not passing the message along, but it still does objectively fall on you for not making sure the managers were cool with it. If I were in your position, I would admit fault and take 100% of the blame. Apologize profusely and let them know it won't happen again. Probably put in some extra effort for the next couple weeks for brownie points as well. Best of luck, dude. It may suck, but just remember that sometimes all it takes is a very sincere apology to keep from getting fired. It sounds like you're a pretty good employee, so if they do fire you, that doesn't sound like great management. Best wishes, thumbs up. Also, management here, I would have preferred if OP had just called in for the shift and said nothing. Haven't called in for 3 years. All the less suspicious when you do now to get fucking speakers installed, lol. It's good now you can blast music in your car all day long. Didn't want to call off as you hadn't done that in 2 years, but taking 3 hours without telling anyone is no problem in your mind. To get speakers installed? WTF? Question mark. So you just left while on the clock? Damn. No, I clocked out, of course. I probably should have specified. Why not just take the day off like a responsible adult? Today I fucked up by accidentally destroying a pound of an MS-13 gang member's hash. So, to start this story off, I need to apply a little context. It was a good 8 to 10 years ago, and this was before anyone in my town knew what concentrate was. A friend had just come home from California and taught me how to make concentrate from weed. It was the old school butane method. People had never seen or tried concentrate before, so they were going crazy for it. I decided that I would teach people in exchange for a couple $100, and the first batch of whatever I teach them with all seemed fine. One day a friend of mine told me that his friend wanted me to teach him and he'd give me $1,000 in lieu of the first batch. I said hell you, and we were off. We arrived at this house in South Houston. It was ghetto. Chain-linked fence with huge scarred-up pit bulls screaming at us. We get let in by this massive Hispanic guy. He had tats all over his face and the dude looked like he was built like an ox. He didn't say a damn word to me. No greeting. Nothing. We go in and there's a group of tatted up guys playing poker with pistols and rifles everywhere. Not a single one of them acknowledged mine nor my friend's presence. I immediately felt out of place. I was not in my element. I decided that I was too committed to back out now, so I trudged forward. The dude walks up to the kitchen counter and pulls out a pound of hash and throws it on the counter and just says go. I immediately start panicking because I had never blasted hash before, only flour. Told him that I didn't know how it would work and I didn't want to mess up. He just said do it anyway. So, I got to work. The first step was to place the hash in this cylindrical tube. Tube is kinda like a condom with a small hole poked in the top. The bottom part was where it was loaded. I loaded it all up and I put a filter around the big opening and I was ready to blast. We went outside to avoid the fumes. Started pumping butane through and everything seemed to work just fine. The concentrate was slowly seeping out of the filter and it looked bow. Today I fucked up. About halfway through, out of nowhere, The entire tube exploded through the filter. A pound of hash blew into the air. It was seriously raining hash. I could only compare it to a cloud of pollen. There was absolutely no recovering it. As the hash was raining down on everyone, the guys playing poker all stopped and ran out to see what happened. I was faced with about 6 guys and everyone was trying to process what happened. I thought for sure me and my friend were going to get our asses kicked. And out of nowhere the main guy just starts laughing his ass off. Everyone else just kinda followed suit and my friend and I just kinda started out little nervous laugh. He just started laughing and saying it's raining hash. Look at this shit. So, we started chatting and we both figured out what the issue was. I had packed the hash too tight and it just got compressed. He whipped out another pound and we blasted it. Everything worked out perfectly. He was in a much lighter mood after that lol. I actually ended up finding hash in my pockets, hoodie, shoes, and everywhere else for the next couple of weeks. I still think about that to this day. Too long didn't read. I tried blasting some hash into concentrate and accidentally made a hash bomb that turned this guy's drugs into a cloud of spores. I got kind of nervous for a second there but I was happy to see it worked out. I'm sure it was nerve-wracking at the time but it definitely makes a good story now. The pit bulls screaming at us got me. In my mind it's like the husky from YouTube who just screams not bark. Smiley face, nice story. Isn't that like $4,000 worth? I don't know, I'm not his accountant. Once, an MS-13 member came into the ER while I was still a student. Me, prepares to insert for him, fighting a band enemies. Oh come on, you're a tough guy. You'll be fine. Him, you're nice. Can I have your number? Me, no. Here's your Demerol. My wife's a surgeon in Detroit, and she says that some of her best patients are the gangbangers that come in with trauma injuries. As long as they're sober, they're generally very appreciative of the fact that she's about to save their life, so they're very respectful and cooperative. Contrasting that with the kind of entitled suburban patients who treat everyone around them like dirt is an interesting exercise. I feel like this is almost a scene from Breaking Bad. Today I fucked up by choosing a crappy console over a Game Boy. Obligatory. This happened many years ago when the Game Boy was like the PS5 today. For my birthday present my dad drove me to the game store and offered a console. I had to choose between a Game Boy and a silly frog crossing console with, obviously, just this single game in it. I was fascinated by the frog game and I came back home the happiest kid in the world. Until I came to realize that all the other kids at school had Game Boys, and could play Pokemon with it. I begged others to let me play and to exchange consoles. Boo, I'll let you guess what people thought of my game. I regretted my decision for a long time until, years later, I discovered emulators. Too long didn't read. Dad brought me to game store, had to choose between Game Boy and Frog Game, chose Frog Game. This today I fucked up may be the most devastating I have ever seen. Reminds me of in elementary school during summer daycare program I let this kid I didn't really know borrow my GB Advance in exchange for him letting me borrow this Tamagotchi-like device. At home I realized the thing I borrowed sucked ass and was ready to get my GB back. Went to daycare the next day ready to get my fucking GB back and he wasn't there. He never came back. I never saw him again. My parents got the administrators to try and contact his parents, and they never could. This was an absolutely soul-crushing experience for my young psyche and forever damaged my trust in other humans. My bro got Yu-Gi-Oh cards stolen at a daycare back when those were big. That kid knew exactly what he was doing. Back in the day before scumbag scalpers who bought up the holiday season's new hit item like PS5 to gouge customers, there were scumbag companies who made their shit products look exactly like the season's hit toy and ensure it landed on shelves right next to that hit toy to confuse clueless parents and shoppers. Scumbags always gonna scum things up. This was hard to read. Not because it's too gross as so many others are, but because my gut wrenches with how could you have chosen so poorly! Probably the most fitting post I've seen on this sub. When I was younger, my older brother had the Game Boy with Pokemon and I was never allowed to touch it. Well, now I'm in my 20s and I have the Switch and he doesn't. Get fucked, older brother. You may not have a Game Boy, but you have this story to tell.